My name is Myra. I'm not someone famous or extraordinary. I'm just an ordinary woman, living in a small village on the coast of Mozambique. Every morning, I wake up to the sound of roosters crowing, the sound of coconut leaves rustling in the wind, and the smell of kitchen smoke seeping into every crevice of my shirt. I am a nurse at a local clinic, the wife of a gentleman who works as a carpenter, and the mother of 3 children who are always hungry but smile like the sun. My life used to be very simple, nothing too special, but I found it filling enough. My every day starts with a bowl of corn porridge, a few laughs, and sometimes even sudden rain that drenches the drying yard. I am so familiar with that rhythm of life that I never thought that anything could break it. Just like how many people believe that tomorrow will always come, I also believe that my life will just pass by, as regular as the sound of waves crashing on the shore every night. I'm not a very religious person, but I still believe in God. Whenever I encounter difficulties, I still pray quietly, not praying for a miracle, but just hoping for more strength to endure. I used to think that faith was something only for the elderly or the very weak. But then, I began to realize, sometimes faith is the only thing left when everything around falls apart. On a beautiful, seemingly normal sunny day, I went to the medical station as usual. There are a few patients waiting, a few babies with fever, a few elderly people who need their blood pressure checked. I was busy all morning and didn't have time to eat anything. The initial feeling of fatigue was just like every time I stayed up too late to comfort my child. But near noon, I started to feel dizzy. The fever comes like a wave, without warning. I remember trying to stand up to get water, but my eyes were dark. Everything after that just faded away, until I didn't know anything anymore. When I woke up, if it can be called awakening, I was no longer in my usual place, but I'll tell you about that later. What I want you to understand is that this is not happening to someone far away. It happened to me, a wife, a mother, a woman who seemed to have nothing special. And if it happens to me, it probably happens to anyone. Our lives can be so peaceful that we think we are safe, but actually, sometimes in the seemingly most ordinary moments, there are hidden, unexpected turning points. And I entered such a turning point, without warning, without any noise, I left this world, without anyone thinking I would return. I don't know when I left this world. There were no sirens, no bright lights like in the movies, and no sense of panic. Everything just went quiet. It was as if someone turned off the switch in my life in silence, painless, no fear, just a strange silence so comfortable that I thought I was just taking a nap in the middle of a tiring day of work. But then I realized something strange. I'm not in a hospital bed anymore. I'm looking down at myself. I saw my body lying motionless, tubes entangled, several nurses trying to call my name. A confused young doctor shook his head. I stood there, or rather, was present there, without even feeling my body. I feel light, without the feeling of heaviness or entanglement like when I was alive. It was as if I had been stripped of all physical limitations, all fatigue, all worries that once weighed heavily on my shoulders. The first thing I felt was not panic, but relief. A feeling of serenity that I have never felt in my life. No more worrying about rice. No more children crying in the middle of the night. No more long shifts. I seemed to be floating in a space where all sounds became distant. Everything moved slowly, as if time stood still. Then I saw my grandmother. She passed away when I was only 10 years old, but I will never forget her face. She stood there, saying nothing, just smiling with kind eyes like every time I fell and she came to help me up. Without words, I knew she was saying, "You are not alone." And then, that light appeared. Not dazzling, not sudden, but slowly spreading. It was unlike any light I had ever seen in my life. It's not electric light, it's not sunlight. It seems to have a soul, it's warm, it's soft. It's so gentle that I want to run into it and disappear into it. That light makes everything else fade, no longer important. It draws me in, but it doesn't force me. I was pulled away, but I also wanted to be pulled away. And then I heard the call. A deep, warm voice, but not coming from any specific place. It rang in my ears, inside my head, and even in every invisible cell that I am. Myra, come here. I know that voice. Even though I had never heard it with my own ears, my soul recognized it immediately. That's him. I don't need to ask your name. No proof needed. It's like when you meet someone you love deeply and have been waiting for all your life. You don't need to explain. You just know. I know it's God. I didn't see his face the way people often draw it, but I felt his presence more clearly than anything I'd ever touched. He did not stand there as a person, but as a source of light, a stream of pure love enveloping me. I burst into tears, not because of sadness or regret, but because for the first time I felt understood, completely seen and still loved. I don't know if I still have my arms or legs there, but my soul kneels as a natural reflex when standing before such great sacredness. I have never felt so small yet so valuable. There is no fear. There is only admiration, complete. A complete surrender, not out of necessity, but out of sheer beauty. You have been through many things, he said, and I saw each stage of my life pass by like a fast-forward movie. No judgment, just honesty. And I realized that every small action, every thought, every time I suffered silently, every time I smiled at a patient, it all had meaning. Nothing is missed. I stood there, in the midst of that living light, in the midst of love and truth. And I understand, no matter how small my life is, I will always have a place in his heart. Not because I have done anything great, but because I am a part of that love, like everyone else. That was the first time in my life I didn't want to go back. But my journey is not over yet. And he knew it before I did. But that moment of standing before the light that didn't come from any light bulb, changed me forever. Because after touching the truth, you can't live the same anymore. Even if you return, you will never be the same person again. I don't know how long I stood in that light. In that place, time seems to have no meaning. There are no clocks, no sunrise or sunset. There was just presence, and love so overwhelming that I thought I would melt. I'm not hungry. I'm not thirsty. I don't have any needs like when I was alive. And the strangest thing is that I no longer feel empty. The dull feeling of disappointment that had followed me for many years, a feeling that I couldn't name, was now completely gone. I found something, or rather, I was found. God is there. There was no rumbling thunder, no splendid throne, but there was a majesty that could not be described in words. Every time he speaks, I don't just hear with my ears, I feel it with my whole soul. It's a voice full of love, but also so deep that you just want to stay silent and listen forever. And when he looked at me, I knew I couldn't hide anything. Not because he judges, but because he sees me more clearly than I see myself. He said, "You have forgotten who you are." I heard that sentence, and immediately, so many questions filled my mind. Who am I? A village nurse? An ordinary mother? A woman struggling with life, trying to keep things stable? I'm used to thinking like that about myself. And to be honest, I never thought I was important. I always put others first. From a young age, I learned that women must endure, must make sacrifices, must be silent. I have never thought about the question, who am I, can be so important. But now, here, in this divine light, God told me I had forgotten that. I was about to ask, But before I could speak, he reached out his hand. "Don't touch me. Just lift it slightly." And the scenery around me begins to change. I see myself as a child. A skinny, dark brown-skinned girl was sitting alone under the shade of a mango tree behind her house. My eyes were red because I had just been bullied by another child. I still remember that afternoon. I ran away because I was afraid of being criticized, because I believed I wasn't good enough, not beautiful enough, not lovable enough. And then, what choked me up was when I saw myself through God's eyes. He did not see a weak little girl, but saw a soul sparkling like a pearl, a courageous girl full of potential, but obscured by the fear that others instill in her. I looked at that scene and burst into tears. He continued, "You carry that fear with you all your life. You let other people's words paint your image in your eyes. You no longer see yourself as I see you." I was able to revisit even the moments in my life that I once considered trivial. One time I helped an old lady cross the street. One time I gave the last loaf of bread to a strange girl. Those moments appeared not just as images, but as waves of light spreading far away, touching others, changing them without me even realizing it. He showed me people who were healed just because I smiled at them. People who don't commit suicide just because of a gentle sentence I once blurted out. Every single thing I have ever done has meaning. And he said, "You think you're just a grain of sand, but to me, you are a universe." I choked up. The years of hard work, the times I cooked while comforting my fevered child, the restless sleep because my child cried at night, the days I fasted to spend with my husband and children, all those seemingly anonymous things God remembers. Not a single piece is left. "But Myra," he continued, "I didn't just create you to suffer. I created you to live, to love, to remember the light within you." I trembled. I don't know if I have any light left in my heart anymore. I was exhausted. I have been worn out. But then he touched me, not with his hands, but with his presence. A stream of warm light spread, touching every broken piece within me, as if mending the torn places that I had hidden inside for so many years. I saw the things I dreamed of as a girl: to get an education, to write books, to help other women overcome adversity. I feel like I used to be a girl with a big heart, but it gradually shrank because life was too difficult. And he just said softly, "You never lost it. You just forgot." Before my eyes is a city, large, modern, clean. The buildings are tall and bright with lights. Everything is shiny, minimalist, beautiful in a cold way. On the boulevards, people walked crowdedly, but no one talked. No one laughed. No one looked at each other. They walked in line, hands clasped behind their backs, eyes looking straight into space as if being guided by some thought that did not belong to them. I looked around and realized no traffic, no noise. Everything is too quiet, too orderly. So, like a pre-programmed dream, I turned to God. He was with me, still a gentle but unmistakable presence, and asked, "Where is this?" He replied, "This is the future, if people continue to be blind." I stood still, watching the people passing by like ghosts. They eat, they work, they laugh. But all are mechanical behaviors. It's as if there's a switch in their head, controlling every move. No one is sad. But no one is happy. Everything is empty. I was taken to a coffee shop. A family sat there, father, mother, 2 children. But no one looked at anyone. Their eyes were glued to the images emitted from a small device attached under the skin of their wrists. Not a phone, not glasses. Some new technology I've never seen before. But clearly, it completely commands their attention. I heard a man say, not out loud, but as if transmitted directly from his brain, "It's time to upgrade to this month's update." Another person nodded. The old emotion system is broken. I will switch to static mode. I felt chills down my spine. I asked God, what are they doing? Why is this happening? His Holiness replied, they traded freedom for convenience. They didn't want to feel pain anymore, so they no longer felt true joy. They didn't want to choose, so they gave all choices to a smart system. And now they live like that, thinking they are safe, without realizing they are being controlled. I got a lump in my throat. This is not a fantasy movie. I am seeing with my own eyes a future where people have forgotten how to be human. I saw a giant data center where millions of signals from people poured in every second. Human brains are monitored not only by actions, but also thoughts. All are evaluated using an algorithm. Who is emotionally unstable? Who thinks differently? Who is no longer fit? All were modified, reprogrammed, or removed from the system. I asked, don't they realize? God replied, they thought they were making progress. They were promised longer lives, healthier lives, no heartbreak, no arguments, and they believed, because it was so much easier than facing the truth, that suffering is a sacred part of growing up. I want to scream, want to shake every person in that city, want to tell them, wake up, this is not life. But no one listens to me. No one looked at me. God took me further, to another place, a big ceremony. Hundreds of people lined up, step by step towards a registration desk. They bowed their heads, stretched out their hands, and let a device be implanted under their skin. No pain, no pressure. Everyone volunteers. Everyone believes they are doing the right thing, that this is part of new life. I turned away, unable to bear it. I asked, is this the end of the world? God shook his head. No. This is a choice. Each person is given freedom, and this world is the result of successive choices. I suddenly understood. The end of the world does not come with the sound of thunder. It comes from the silence of the heart that no longer dares to love, no longer dares to believe, no longer dares to hurt. The apocalypse comes from allowing our souls to be eroded day by day, by comfort, by the coaxing words to let the system take care of you. I trembled. But then God pointed in another direction. There, in the midst of that darkness, I saw light, small, like a spark in the night. A group of people are gathering together. They pray. They share bread. They smiled, real smiles from their hearts. These are people who are still awake, he said. They do not follow the times. They still keep their hearts alive, and they will be the guiding light for others. I look at them, all ages, all skin colors, all classes. No one is perfect, but they are genuine. They listen to each other. They dare to hurt, dare to love, dare to believe. They teach children through stories, not technology. They grow their own trees, cook their own meals, and wipe each other's tears. And I understand, this is the real future we can choose. God turned to me and said, "You did not choose to stay. You must return. You must tell these things, not to scare, but to awaken. Because hope is still there, but it is fragile. I want to beg to stay. But I know, my mission lies not in this light, but in the real world, where there are still hearts that need a gentle call to wake up. I think I will stay there forever. In that light, with God's presence, everything is so perfect. There's nothing left to regret, nothing left to fear. I have seen the truth and been loved in a way that I have never dreamed of in my entire life. My heart is as light as the wind. But then, God looked at me, and I knew it wasn't the end. He spoke to me in a gentle but firm voice. "Myra, you're not done yet." I stopped. "I understand what you mean. I have to go back. Must leave this light to return to the old world. a place full of chaos, pain, and fatigue, where I try to live each day without losing myself, where I can be disappointed, rejected, misunderstood. But I also understand that if I have seen all that, if I have touched that truth and love, then I cannot keep it to myself. But I'll be lonely, I said softly. God just smiled. That smile doesn't promise that it will be easy for me. He did not say that people would believe me or hug me when I told this story, but that smile says, you are never truly alone. I will always be there. And then I felt my body. It feels like being pushed into a cramped room after swimming in the ocean. I heard the sound of machinery, a choked cry, someone calling my name, vague, as if echoing from afar, and I opened my eyes. The light in the hospital room was pale white. My body is heavy and painful, but I know I'm back. I know why I'm still alive. In the days that followed, I couldn't keep quiet. I tell that story to anyone who will listen. Some people nodded, some were skeptical, some smiled slightly and changed the subject. But there are also people, just a few, who stay silent for a long time and then shed tears. They don't need any further explanation. I know, they understand. And you know what? I also understood something very important. Sometimes the mission is not to do great things. It's not about going on stage or doing something great, but simply living truthfully, living mindfully, living with an open heart, even if only to light up a small corner around you. I'm not done yet, and so are you. If you can still breathe, feel pain, and be moved by something kind, then you are still carrying light within you. Don't let anyone convince you that you are normal, because no one is born just to exist. All of us were born to light up. If you have heard this far, perhaps somewhere in your heart, you're also sobbing. Not because my story is special, but because there's a part inside you that realizes you felt the same way. The vague feeling that I was born to live something deeper, more meaningful, but was drowned out in the midst of everyday worries. I get it, because I used to be like that too. It wasn't until I died and was resurrected that I realized every moment in my life carried a message. I was just too busy to listen. I don't tell this story to scare you. I don't want you to panic or live in fear. On the contrary, I tell because I know, no matter who you are, where you are, what job you do, how you live, you are also a part of that sacred thing. Not later, not when you're perfect, but right now, in the uncertainty, in the wrinkles, in the times you stay silent because you don't know what to say to comfort others, in every little thing you do with all your heart. You don't have to do anything big to be meaningful. Just be real. Look straight at the pain inside you. Don't rush to cover it up, because those cracks are where light can penetrate. Be kind to someone you don't know. Forgive yourself. Dare to love, even if your heart is broken. Those things, seemingly small, are how you sow light into life. And if you find yourself tired or lost, don't worry. It's not that you're weak. That's a sign that you're still alive. Because truly strong people are not the ones who always smile, but the ones who dare to be honest with their fragility. The more you dare to admit that you need light, the more light you will find. I'm not anyone special. I'm just someone who was reminded that I am the light. And I believe, if you are reading or listening to this, you probably need such a reminder too. Not to change the world, but just to remember that you have never been a lost drop in the ocean. You are the ocean, encapsulated in a drop of water, full of value, power, and meaning. Let's slow down a bit. Look at your loved one a little longer. Say words of love while you can. Because those simple things, that's how you plant seeds. And one day, when you don't expect it, those seeds will bloom into a flower garden. Not only in your heart, but in the hearts of everyone you've ever touched.